Please welcome Sangeeta Bavi, the brand new Chief Operating Officer of YourStory Media. Sangeeta joined YourStory Media in January this year, where she oversees all business operations and drives revenue growth. With 2.5 decades of experience across global giants like Microsoft and Nokia, Sangeeta has established a remarkable track record in building high-impact teams and driving scale. In her decade of experience at Microsoft, she spearheaded the digital natives vertical, building it from the ground up and establishing it as a leading growth engine for engaging India's top digital scale startups. She also served as Chief of Staff to the President of Microsoft India, where she played a pivotal role in driving strategic initiatives and aligning business goals across the organization. Sangeeta has also been a mentor to several startups. Today, as she joins us for REPRISE, she will delve deeper into the tectonic shifts taking place at the workplace. Joining her on stage after her keynote address will be Sarvesh Tiwari, Chairman and Managing Director of PR Professionals. Sangeeta?
Morning everyone, and it's great to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit in terms of, what is brand building. All of us heard in the earlier session, we know, and I would be teaching to the choir, brand building is a lot about reputation, authenticity, how genuine are you, whether it is the brand of the product that you are selling or yourself, right? There is also a third element to it, which is relatability. How relatable are you in today's times when it comes to brand? In our, at least in my professional career, I feel I'm at an inflection point because of everything that's happening around us, right? Especially where AI is concerned. I spent about 2.5 decades in the tech industry, and I've never seen innovation happen at this pace what AI is doing. Be it in terms of disruption where businesses are concerned, be it in terms of disruption where jobs and skill sets are concerned, or even disruption in terms of culture, because the culture at your workplace, in your businesses is going to change because of AI. So I'm going to take, in the next 15-20 minutes, I'm going to walk you through how I see the world and the workplace changing because of what's happening in AI. Any guesses what this number is? Answer to life, okay. Anything else? Sorry? 24 hours in the day, okay. So this is essentially the total number of GPTs that have been invented till date. Since humans were born, from then till now, these are the number of GPTs, and these are not the generative pre-trained transformers that are used for AI. GPTs are essentially your general purpose technologies. What are general purpose technologies? These are technologies or innovations which have a very, very deep impact on the economic structure of a nation, or even it could be global, and even it has a very drastic impact on the existing societal structures. Just to give you examples of some of the GPTs which have been invented so far, right? Look at steam engine, look at electricity, look at smartphones, look at information, what internet basically did to the world around us, right? And AI is one such technology which is categorized as GPT. And if you look at the impact, the economic impact of GPTs over the years on the GDP. So how to read this chart is, industrial robots have been from 1997 to about 2007, in a decade. The economic impact, cumulative GDP impact that these GPTs have had. Now look at AI. AI has been there in existence since about, I think this shouldn't be 2007, it should be 2027 actually. So AI basically has been in existence since about 80s. It's just that the use of AI was not as mainstream as we see in the last 18 months that's there, right? And look at what is predicted in terms of how AI is going to impact the economy globally. It's a crazy number of 120%, right? That's a phenomenal number. Closer to home, if you look at India, today the IT and IT professional services contributes to what, about 7-8% of India's GDP. That's about $245 billion, right, as of today. If you look at what AI is going to do, AI is creating another IT services industry. AI is going to contribute to an equal percentage in terms of Indian economy by 2030. It's going to contribute $500 billion to the Indian economy. That is the kind of scale and impact that we are talking about from an economic perspective. Now all of you would be wondering, why am I sharing all these data charts and everything, right? If you look at how AI is basically disrupting businesses, typically it takes time for a particular technology to get mainstream. Look at what AI is doing. In China, there is world's first AI hospital. There are 25 AI doctors, no human doctors, just the entire hospital run by AI doctors. In Australia, a construction company has built a house from scratch using AI robots in just 2 days. US, basically firefighters use a helicopter which is completely manned and run by AI to do rescue work so that human lives are not in danger. If you look at closer to home, even in India, there is just phenomenal work happening in AI, be it in EdTech, health tech, agri-tech, across industries, right? Physics Wala is the EdTech which is using AI tutor to train students, to make them better. And not just train, they're also creating a AI chat bot, which is basically a buddy and a companion to students for well-being. That's a kind of disruption. Khoji In is a startup which is helping families reunite missing children. I mean, how powerful and how impactful is that? And not last but not the least, even in terms of religious spirituality, if you see some of these spiritual gurus, they're using AI to mainstream and scale the impact of spirituality that they have. This is the kind of impact that we are seeing in businesses, and in my sort of career in the tech industry, I haven't seen this kind of rapid diffusion of innovation happen. Why is it happening specifically related to AI? There are 4 reasons, right? One, the first and the foremost is, so far if you see everything related to information technology, it was, oh, I don't know coding, I don't know how to talk to machines, so I can't sort of, be in the information technology space. What AI is doing is, AI is letting machines understand how humans interact. Machines can understand, either we input the prompt for any of these AI tools in English, it could be Hinglish, it could be any other language across the world, right? That's the power that AI is providing. Second thing, in terms of just the pace of innovation, if you know Moore's law basically says that every 2 years the compute power doubles and hence the performance increases. But what is basically happening in the AI space is that the scaling laws are coming into effect, which essentially means that the compute power is doubling every 3 months. That's like 90% faster acceleration in terms of compute. The third aspect, which is the most important thing, is that the costs are rapidly falling down, right? Like if you look at ChatGPT pricing, in the last 18 months, the price has dropped by 12 times. And for a country like ours, which is extremely price sensitive, it doesn't matter whether you are selling to a premium customer or you're selling to a low ARPU customer, price matters. And if we are able to, in a country like India, able to justify AI and technology not as a cost line but as a revenue line, that's where basically innovation and change can happen. Now, if you look at innovation laws that are in existence, right, all of you must be knowing about innovators, early adopters, early majority, and all of that. AI is again defying those laws, because typically what happens is the adoption and the change of something is very slow, because it's only the early the innovators and early adopters which form what, about 13-14% of the entire audience base that we have. Those are the people who are adopting, trying, figuring out what is the impact of a particular technology or a tool. How it varies and changes where AI is concerned is that entire adoption has happened sudden. Like in the last 18 months, and I always share this example, this is nothing got to do with gender, but my mother-in-law, she has been, I think there has to be a new cohort created for her, which is even beyond late Lagard's, right? She hates technology. She was a professor of psychology, and she thinks technology is very, very intrusive to mankind. But about a year back, we were having dinner, and she's like, hey, what is this ChatGPT? I want to learn about it. I'm like, where did you know about ChatGPT? I mean, when she asks me something about technology, it pretty much means that, that particular thing has become mainstream. And this is the reality. If you are a marketeer, are you using AI tools for SEO optimization? Are you using tools for creating your social media copy? There are like tons of these tools which are available. If you are a coder, are you using tools to write software which doesn't need human intervention? If you are a salesperson, are you using tools to make your pitch better and to figure what the customer really wants and sell the right product to the customer? Literally look at every single profession. There are AI tools available, and the reality is that you might be the best in your profession in whatever you do. AI is going to make you more efficient, more better, get your deliverables out faster. That's essentially the impact that AI is going to have on all of us. Also, if you see, the reality is that there's a lot of debate in terms of saying, is AI going to take away our jobs? Some roles, AI is definitely going to make them redundant. And all of us have been reading about these things. It's identified that by about, in the next 3 to 5 years, roughly about 15 role types are going to be redundant. These people who have these deep skill sets in those particular roles might not even be required in the job market, right? I mean, that's the reality. Will AI replace all the jobs? The answer is no. AI will always be a companion to what you do, because for everything, there is a need for human intervention, right? You can't completely rely on AI and the machines. So what's important for all of us is to make sure that we are ahead of the curve. We basically are, no matter which industry you are in, no matter what profession you are in, just making yourself aware and current in terms of the change and the tools that basically are available. That's the impact that AI will have on each one of us as professionals. But if you see what will be the impact of AI in terms of culture, today, I won't say that all the organizations have these 5 generations of people, and when I say 5 generations, it's essentially your baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and even Gen Alpha, right? Some of the startups would have these 5 generations working together. I'll give you an example of this. YourStory, the average age of people in YourStory is fairly lesser compared to Microsoft. And the other day, last week, I was in office and one of my colleagues just tells me, hey, you're looking very trippy. And I didn't know what trippy was. So again, a Gen Z colleague, and then I went and sort of checked what trippy means. It's basically, oh, you're looking cool. That's the new way of saying you're looking very trippy, right? So these are the kind of conversations we'll end up having in our workplaces, 5 generations. But guess what? In our lifetime of careers, and if I scan the room, there is a good mix of people across different generations. In our own professional careers, we will have a 6th generation working with us, which is AI machines. It is not far away where we will be interacting with AI machines. And the reason for this is, I don't know how many of you have heard about agentic AI, right? This is essentially an innovation in AI where it is not just automating all your workflows. Earlier, what was AI doing? It was essentially automating all the repeatable manual tasks and making it programmatic. Agentic AI also takes decisions on your behalf. It takes actions on your behalf. And just to give you some examples of it is, let's take the travel industry, right? What typically happens when you're going on a vacation? You and your family would get together and sort of figure, acha, kahan jana hai? Where do we want to go? Then you will do a research. Then you'll find the right sort of hotels or resorts to stay. Then go and book a flight and all of that entire process. Agentic AI, you just have to sort of talk to it's like your personalized travel agent. You talk to the travel agent and say, I want to go to Sri Lanka with a family, a family-friendly place, and these are the things that I want to do. Your personalized travel agent will essentially do the entire research for you, will give you the options within your budget, and also go ahead and book your tickets. That's essentially what's going to happen, which essentially means that all of us in various touch points of our life, from the time we wake up in the morning till the time we go to bed, we will end up interacting with AI machines, right? So obviously that will have an impact on how we work and what is the impact of culture in the workplace. Again, this is not a categorization based on the year you were born, because at times it also happens that you could be born as a baby boomer, but you have the mindset of a Gen Z. So, but broadly, if you look at law of averages, Gen Zs will have a very natural affinity to adopt AI with minimal friction, because their digital fluency is a lot better, both Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And one of the best examples is if you have kids or younger siblings who are in the Gen Z, Gen Alpha category, you will know when you're taking when you're doing a reel on Instagram, or if you're taking a picture, how you take a picture, like how I take a picture versus how my niece takes a picture. It's just so different because they're just so comfortable, so conversant with doing these things. So adopting AI will come very, very naturally to them, right? If you look at millennials will basically want to use AI because they already know that, yeah, it is going to enhance their productivity. They are in that sort of phase of career where, they are in the they are in the middle management or junior management layer. So for them to grow faster in their career, they would end up adopting. What is required in workplaces is to figure how to make the usage of AI relevant and friendly for the Gen X and the baby boomers, right? Because there will always be caution. And this is nothing to do with, again, the year that you're born in. It's just that human beings are a little averse to change. If you have to change your daily routine, it doesn't come naturally to any of us, right? So how do workplaces make the culture different such that all of this basically is used in at scale and becomes mainstream in your organization? And the last thing for which I honestly do not have answers, and everybody also is trying to figure how the world will look like, there will be a time where we will see, we might have a machine basically being a manager, right? It's very possible that we will have AI as a manager. So how do you even for tracking some of the routine tasks that each one of us does. How do you interact with a machine? There are no answers for that, but it might happen in our lifetime of careers. So I'm just going to leave you behind with one thought. Technologies have come and gone. Some have stayed, some have just like fizzled out. And there will be, today there is AI, tomorrow there will be quantum, you know, after that maybe there is something else. The impact of these technologies is going to be different for either our professional lives or just for us in terms of our skill sets. What is very, very clear is change is the only constant. We also heard Neha say the same thing earlier. How do we adapt ourselves to change, and how do we basically make ourselves relatable to current times? So I'm just going to leave you behind with one thought, that make yourself relatable to current times, especially where technology is concerned. So thank you.
Good morning. Am I audible? So it's a privilege, ma'am, and we recently celebrated Women's Day, but I believe that every day we should celebrate the people who are performing and reaching to this height. आप योर स्टोरी जब मैं हमेशा पढ़ता हूँ या देखता हूँ तो मुझे हमेशा ये सोचता था कि आखिर योर स्टोरी में क्या कभी कोई ऐसा मिलेगा जिससे मैं बोलूँ कि व्हाट इज़ योर स्टोरी. एंड यू हैव एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ, जो मैंने पहली बार आपको बोला कि माइक्रोसॉफ्ट और नोकिया सुन के मैं थोड़ा डरा था बिकॉज मैं गांव का आदमी हूँ, पर मैं ये जानना ज़रूर चाहूँगा कि व्हाट हैज़ बीन योर स्टोरी एट द वर्क कल्चर शिफ्ट, एट द डिफरेंस बिटवीन वर्किंग एट माइक्रोसॉफ्ट एंड नाउ विथ एन इंडियन कंपनी. क्या कुछ अलग लगा आपको और क्या चेंजेस पोस्ट कोविड आपको दिखे हैं अगर हम देखें दोनों जगह तो?
Sure, no, thanks for that, Sarvesh. Changes तो वही है that, you know, working in a large American corporate which operates like a well-oiled engine. I've known Shraddha for about a decade now, and I come to YourStory and I'm hearing terms like trippy. I'm like, you know, it's a completely different culture, right? It's a startup. So one is just adjusting to the work around you. What typically happens, and it happened to me, I'm not going to lie, when I moved out of Microsoft and when I joined YourStory, I was trying to bring the Microsoft culture into YourStory. It doesn't happen. It's like you need to adapt to that culture, right? So I think one significant change for me has been that in the last, I would say, 5-6 weeks.
मैं श्रद्धा 2 बार सुन चुका. एक बार नेहा ने शायद श्रद्धा बोला था, आपने बोला. So we are working in an environment where we have Shakti Kapoors and Shraddha Kapoor in the same organizations. And I want to ask you how you deal with Shakti Kapoors and Shraddha Kapoor at the same time. अब मैं वो जेंजी वेंजी मेरे को आता नहीं तो मैं इसी तरीके से पूछता हूँ.
Let me just assume what your question was and then answer. See, ultimately, for me, it's been what happens is that we try and, if there are different people, we try and make them adjust to what we want, right? As managers, leaders, organization culture. My favorite book is To Kill a Mockingbird. In that, Atticus Finch says that, you know, put yourself in the other person's shoes, crawl around in the skin of the other person, and then you will understand ki, what are the pain points of the other person. Jab tak you don't understand, yeah, so unless you sort of put yourself in the other person's shoes and see the problem or see the point of view from that person's point of view, you will never sort of know what the issue is, right? So yeah, that's a good way of dealing with difficult people. I've seen things turn around.
I think that is why empathy is very important, and the ability to empathize is, I think that is the biggest power which AI तो है ही. AI के लिए मैं ये कहता हूँ कि समय के साथ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जब बनता है, सड़कें बनी तो गाड़ियाँ आई, गाड़ियाँ जब आई तो उसके बाद उससे अगले लेवल की तेज़ गाड़ियाँ आई, फरारीज आई. इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनता है तो फिर उसके बाद अगला स्टेज आता है. तो AI इज़ समथिंग विच इज़ बाउंड टू हैपन एंड वी ऑल नीड टू बी प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर दैट. फ़ायदा ये है कि नेक्स्ट जनरेशन जो हमारा आ रहा है वो सब AI पढ़ रहे हैं, जान रहे हैं, सीख रहे हैं. सो मुझे लगता है कि एक ऐसा शिफ्ट है जो ऑर्गेनिक है एंड इट हैपन्स। बट आपने जो एक शब्द कहा कि जितना जल्दी हुआ ओवरनाइट शिफ्ट्स होने लगे, सो दैट इज़ समथिंग वेरी डिफरेंट विच वी हैव सीन इन दिस एंड वी आर द लकी पीपल। हमने बहुत सारी चीज़ें ऐसी देखी, कोविड भी हमने देख लिया। सो कोविड से मुझे, और लीडरशिप आपने कहा, आई वुड लव टू नो दैट यू बीइंग द चीफ ऑपरेटिंग ऑफिसर, लीडरशिप एक बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट सब्जेक्ट है, एक बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को आगे लेके जाने के लिए। और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि एक वर्क फ्रॉम होम कल्चर जब से बना है तो इंटरैक्शंस कम हो गए हैं लीडर्स की डायरेक्ट लोगों के साथ। मुझे याद है पहले सहारा था तो सहारा प्रणाम कहते थे लोग। एनीबडी इज हु हैज़ वर्क विद अ जापानीज़ कंपनी, जापानीज़ लोगों के साथ कोई यहाँ पे है जो काम किया हो? भैया, अनूप भैया ने किया है, मैम ने किया है, मैम ने तो सबके साथ काम किया है। तो वो लोग, मैम हर आदमी सान कहता है। संजय सर मेरी टीम में, वो मैं मेल लिखता हूँ तो मैं संजय जी लिख के भेज देता हूँ, तो उधर से सवाल आ जाते हैं कि भाई दिस इज़ नॉट प्रोफेशनल। सो ये बहुत सारे चैलेंज, बट मैं लीडरशिप पे आ रहा हूँ कि लीडर्स अब टाइम नहीं दे पा रहे हैं बिकॉज ऑफ ऑनलाइन एंड वर्क फ्रॉम होम कल्चर। क्या आपको लगता है कि इससे कल्चरल शिफ्ट आ रहा है, लीडरशिप के लिए भी एक चैलेंज आ रहा है टू इंटरैक्ट विद द पीपल एंड क्रिएटिंग their own ambassadors within the organization?
Yeah, so there was a need for work from home when COVID happened, right? I think if we are able to address challenges like, I can understand, like in a place like Bangalore, Delhi NCR फिर भी ठीक है, Bangalore में 5-6 किलोमीटर का distance takes you roughly about an hour, right? It doesn't make sense in terms of travel, but the organization policies for work from home and work from office should be a balanced thing. Ki, mandate your people to come to office at least 2 days a week or 3 days a week. Make it team-based stuff. I was talking to a startup. They were like, it was very difficult for us to bring everybody back because in COVID they had hired people kahan se, from like remote parts of India and all. And imagine if you have to call everybody back in Bombay, they were headquartered in Bombay. एक तो very expensive, and second is आधे लोग तो चले जाएंगे, people will not sort of join, right? So they did a very interesting thing. They did 4 days in a month. Everybody basically comes to Bombay. They did the cost analysis and everything. They let away with the office building that they had. They kept a very small office, and just 4 days everybody gets in Bombay and spends time together. So depending on what stage your organization is in, you need to figure what's the best way, but nothing replaces human interaction. Think about it, right? Like you go in a meeting में जो चीज़ें discuss होती हैं and the discussions that happen before the meeting and post the meeting, most of the decisions are done outside of the meeting. So having those in-person conversations definitely are important.
मैंने आपको बोला था पीपल्स पर्सन वाली बात आपके उस पर लिखी हुई है, मैंने भी लिखा हुआ, और हम दोनों ने लिखा ही नहीं, हम फॉलो भी करते हैं। तो और आज जैसे अमित भाई की प्रोग्राम हमेशा टाइम पे शुरू होते हैं, तो मैं भी आ रहा था, तो एक तो इशू है कि गुड़गांव में ट्रैफिक बहुत है, पर एक गाड़ी ब्रेकडाउन थी तो वो क्राइसिस था, तो उस क्राइसिस की वजह से मैं भी थोड़ा लेट हो गया। जब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में आप आज की डेट में जो ये शक्तिज एंड श्रद्धाज की भी बात करते हैं, बाकी भी बातें करते हैं, तो मैं आपसे ये और पूरी जनता के लिए मैं बोलना चाहूँगा कि जस्ट नरेट एनी ऑफ योर एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ क्राइसिस मैनेजमेंट विच recently happened and you handled it, and what are the tips of handling these all Gen Zs and ये बाकी लोगों को कैसे हैंडल किया जाए? ये मेरे ख्याल से बहुत लोग ये जानना चाहेंगे, बिकॉज प्रैक्टिकली यू हैव हैंडल्ड ऑल दोज स्टफ.
Yeah, let me just maybe because in your story it's literally this is my 5th week in the job, so luckily abhi tak koi crisis hui nahi hai, but I think the crisis will be much bigger here in my compared to my earlier jobs. But I was the chief of staff about 3-4 years, not 3-4 years, sorry, 5-6 years ago. I was the chief of staff to the Microsoft India head, and we had a very, very senior, like the senior most person from my previous organization, I won't reveal the name but you can guess who I'm talking about, was visiting India, And there was one section that we had to basically organize, which was the most important section in terms of just understanding things from developers, what they do. And there was a developer who had, used the technology, was going to do a demo. Just when the exec was walking past, uska technology band ho gaya. And that was sort of the hero of the thing. We were going to do a big media PR around it and all. And luckily somebody had the presence of mind of saying कि in case अगर कुछ होता है एक recording कर लेते हैं, let's just keep the recording. So we very quickly, and hats off to that developer, right? Like he played the demo and he just like spoke about what he is doing. It looked like a real demo. Of course, we had informed the people saying that this is a pre-recorded stuff and all, but just thinking on the feet, telling people what to do and handling the situation is, and you need a good team around you to execute all of that in the short time.
Correct. And जब हम अपने आप को बुजुर्गों की श्रेणी में रखते हैं, so जब तो कुछ शब्द थे विच वर नेवर देयर, सो एनजाइटी, डिप्रेशंस, कभी बातें नहीं ज़्यादा होती थी, बट अब मेरे को लगता है आज की डेट में खाना, समय, क्वालिटी ऑफ एयर, बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं इन सब के रीजंस के लिए. सो इज़ दिस ऑल एनजाइटी, डिप्रेशन इज़ मैन मेड, सेल्फ मेड, सोसाइटी मेड, होम मेड? हाउ, what is the reason, and what are the tips which you want to give to the youngsters? I can see many youngsters here. I would love to hear from them.
See, I don't think that depression or this well-being and everything has been man-made or it is generational, right? I think it was always there. It's just that we were not aware of it, and even if we were aware of it, it was a social taboo, right? Like imagine, I'm just playing this in my head. Imagine like if my grandmother or grandfather would have said कि हाँ, I'm seeing a psychiatrist. At that time, people would have said कि पागल हो गया है क्या, मतलब पागल खाने में भर्ती करना है क्या? But whereas now, if you're taking therapy, it is a very, even now by the way, it is not a very naturally acceptable thing in the workplace. If somebody says, and it happened, one of my colleagues basically was going through therapy, and she didn't want to reveal that she's going through therapy because she was like, what if I don't get the next job, right? So it's very much real in some workplaces, and even in personal lives. I think we are a lot more acceptable to these things, and we don't judge. But the reality is that in the larger scheme of things, people still do pass judgment. My advice, or sort of my view on this, and a request to everybody in the audience, is that if you are going through a really bad time, at least share it with someone, because the more you speak about it, the weight of the baggage will be clearer in your head. It's not like that the baggage will ever go away, it will always stay, but you'll be able to externalize it, you'll be able to figure how heavy it is, and then you know what is the weight you're carrying around. That's one. Second thing is that I always believe that doesn't matter if people are judging you or not, but suppose if you have, like if I'm going through a tough phase in my life, right? If I don't inform my manager or my stakeholders saying that, hey, there is a person, you don't have to basically reveal everything, but if you just share information and say that I am going through a tough time, whatever, personal crisis or whatever, I need some time off. So the person also who's evaluating you will look at you from a different lens. I feel just expression is the opposite of depression.
Very nice. Yeah. और क्या ये बढ़ गया है पहले से? In the recent time, you might have observed that, has it increased suddenly? Because wherever we go, these discussions have become very prominent and it is pertinent also. So I just wanted to understand that in your personal observations, has the number increased? मेरे ऑफिस में मैंने, मतलब हम फैमिली की तरह रहते हैं और 90% रिटेंशन ऑफ एम्प्लॉयज़ हैं हमारे. There was a girl 22 years old, she suddenly fell down, and बाद में हमें पता चला कि वो एंजाइटी अटैक था. एंड इट इज़ वेरी सरप्राइजिंग टू सी अ यंग girl of 22 years age suffering from such an anxiety attack, and it is very dangerous. आज तो ऑफिस में खड़ी थी, कहीं रोड पे, रेल पे, कहीं भी हो सकता है. So with the newer generation coming forward, मुझे लगता है ये मशीन जो है, जो हम 24 घंटे मशीन के सामने और हम AI की तरफ काफ़ी ज़्यादा जा रहे हैं, क्या ये बहुत एक डेंजरस रास्ते पे हम जा रहे हैं, जहाँ पे वर्क प्लेस में एक चीज़ तो अच्छी हो रही है कि हम बहुत फास्ट हो जा रहे हैं, बहुत जल्दी हो जा रहे हैं, बट कहीं ना कहीं कुछ जगह पे हमें स्लो होने की भी ज़रूरत है.
No, that's very true. And also, I think work-life balance, I mean, for me, I have always believed that work is life and life is work, but I'm not a workaholic. So everybody needs to find pockets of, where they literally detox. And there are digital signals coming to us from so many places, right? आपका लैपटॉप है, आपका फ़ोन है, आपका वॉच है, you're constantly on. And for everybody, it's a different method which works, but people need to find that time. That is one. And second is, yes, it's become a very competitive world. Like every time I take up a new job or a new project, I'm like, oh shit, like I have to start from scratch. I have to earn my stripes. Because the pressure also is that much. So yeah, it's true what you're seeing.
जब भी कोई शिफ्ट होता है तो 3 तरीके के जवाब आते हैं. एक पहला जवाब होता है नो, दूसरा होता है नॉट नाउ, तीसरा होता है यस. सो 10% लोग कहते हैं नो, 80% लोग कहते हैं नॉट नाउ, एंड 10% लोग कहते हैं यस. सो वो 10% वाले गो गेटर होते हैं. लेकिन हम हमेशा ही उस 80% के अराउंड हम काम कर रहे होते हैं, उनके साथ काम कर रहे होते हैं, उनके साथ मिल के काम कर रहे होते हैं. मुझे एक पेन होता है, और उसमें मैं चूँकि यू हैव दैट, मान लीजिए बहुत सालों से लोग काम कर रहे होते हैं, और ये शिफ्ट ऑफ टेक जो है, इट इज़ वेरी ईजी फॉर समबडी हु हैज़, बचपन से जिसने फ़ोन यूज़ किया, बचपन से जिसने कंप्यूटर यूज़ किया, पर एक 50 साल 40 साल तक जिसने नहीं कुछ यूज़ किया, उसको सडनली हम कहते हैं आई हैव गॉन टू अ वेरी रिप्यूटेड डॉक्टर, और वो कंप्यूटर पे ऐसे करके बेचारे एंट्री कर रहे थे, एंड हर पेशेंट की एंट्री करने के लिए उनको बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम लग रहा था, एंड ही इज़ वन ऑफ द मोस्ट क्वालिफाइड डॉक्टर ऑफ दैट हॉस्पिटल. बट चूँकि उस सिस्टम में, AI में और टेक में उनको करना ही है सो दैट एवरी पेशेंट इज़ रिकॉर्डेड, वो करते हैं. बट द लॉस इज़ कि ज़्यादा पेशेंट नहीं देख पाते. अल्टीमेटली हम जब इंडिया की बात करते हैं, भारत हाथ से काम करने वालों का देश है जैसा हम कहते हैं, तो आपको क्या ऐसा लगता है कि कुछ और सब्स्टिट्यूट या फिर बेटर तरीके से तैयार करना चाहिए? बिकॉज AI आ गया, जनरेटिव AI आ गया, हम बड़े बड़े हॉल्स में बैठ के, बड़े शहरों में हम लोग, आपकी विचारधारा और मेरी तो काफ़ी मिलती है वैसे जब हम लोगों ने बात किया, पर उन लोगों के बारे में भी क्या हमें सोचना चाहिए जब हम वर्क प्लेस की बात करें? वर्क प्लेस इज़ नॉट लिमिटेड टू मल्टीनेशनल्स, वर्क प्लेस इज़ नॉट लिमिटेड टू पीपल हु आर वर्किंग इन लार्ज सिटीज़. वर्क प्लेस इज़ ऑल्सो रिलेटेड टू द स्मॉलर टाउन्स एंड इवन विलेजेस, जहाँ पे छोटे छोटे काम लोग कर रहे होते हैं. हमारी बातों का दायरा यहाँ तक सीमित रह जाता है. सो डू यू फील दैट समथिंग एट द लेवल ऑफ गवर्नमेंट ऑल्सो, बिकॉज बड़ा इम्पैक्ट सरकार ही कर सकती है, जहाँ पे वर्क प्लेस को उस तरीके से स्ट्रेंथन किया जाए और तैयार किया जाए कि छोटे शहरों के भी लोग उस तरीके से प्रिपेयर्ड रहें कि समथिंग लाइक दिस कम्स अप, दे आर रेडी फॉर इट. सो व्हाट इज़ योर सजेशन? आई वुड लाइक योर वॉइस टू गो टू द गवर्नमेंट ऑल्सो टू हैव लार्जर इम्पैक्ट टू द सोसाइटी.
आप अभी यहाँ पे मरवा दोगे मुझे. So no, but that's true, right? I remember in my stint in Nokia, I think 4-5 months I had volunteered with Aadhaar, and till date, I don't know, I must have done about 15 roles so far in my professional career. That was one of the most enriching, impactful role, because nobody, like, you could be the richest organization, richest person on the planet, you can't drive impact at the scale that the government can do, right? So joining hands with the government, AI mission jo abhi the Indian government has put together, that's a fantastic initiative. How do we go not in, and I'll talk a little bit more about startups because I come from that domain. How do we go and educate and create entrepreneurs not just in Bangalore, Bombay, Delhi, NCR. These are anyways the usual suspects, right? There are just so many facilities and so much more coming into these cities. How do we go to the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 towns? In fact, YourStory founder Shraddha has taken up the mission to, we are working with various entities, with private sector, public sector, angel investors and the government, to figure how do we bring 10 lakh more entrepreneurs from the Bharat part of India. That is basically our mission in the next few years. So that is one aspect, that how do you partner with the government. There are a lot of initiatives that are happening. And your other question was in terms of, what happens to people who are, who have crossed a certain sort of stage in their career. How do you make them more relevant in current times, right? That's where I think culture comes into play. It doesn't matter whether you are a small manufacturing unit in like a tier 3 town in India, or you are one of the big startups or Indian enterprises. How do you have a program of skilling and upskilling your employees, right? And you will always have that, Sarvesh, across all the people that you work with. There will be a few people who are hungry. They might not be capable, but they will be hungry. Identify those hungry people and invest in them. My philosophy has always been that I don't I don't recruit people who are the most capable. I recruit people who are the most hungry. Capability aa jati hai.
So that is why it is called that attitude is more important than amplitude, and if somebody has attitude, he is going to reach the altitude. So वो बहुत ज़रूरी है. So एक अच्छे पैनल का सबसे बड़ी खूबी होती है कि टाइम का भी ध्यान रखे. मैं एक चीज़ ज़रूर कहना चाहूँगा, चूँकि अप्रेज़ल आ रहा है और सब लोग बैठे हुए हैं यहाँ पे, तो अप्रेज़ल के लिए मैं एक कीवर्ड्स लोगों को बोलता हूँ कि इफ़ द फाउंडर्स बिकम्स बेनेवोलेंट, यानी कि एम्प्लॉयर अगर परोपकारी हो जाए, एंड एम्प्लॉय बिकेम सेटिस्फाइड, कंटेंटेड रादर, तो ये दोनों तालमेल बैठता है तो वर्क प्लेस बहुत ही खूबसूरत हो जाती है. सो ये मूल मंत्र के साथ मैं क्लोज करना चाहूँगा. इफ़ यू हैव एनी लास्ट रिमार्क यू कैन प्लीज गिव.
No, I would just say, make yourself relatable. It's not about AI, it's not about technology. Just make yourself relatable. Brand building will happen subsequently. So that's my sort of last few words.
Thank you so much, Shweta. Thank you so much. मनीष, आपके लिए क्वेश्चन. मनीष भाई एक मेरे ऑफिस से, उन्होंने मुझे एक सवाल दिया था जो मैंने नहीं पूछा, बट आई वांट यू टू आस्क.
I just had this one very small query that fundamentally whenever there is any kind of a new technology which comes, and since AI has increased exponentially, so there are two kinds of responses one sees. First is a rational response, the second is the emotional response. In your view, what is the kind of a response which is going to actually come to the fore? Because we see many people also warning us about the dangers of AI. Large names, very large names, they have warned us about the dangers of AI. So what do you think is going to actually become prevalent? A rational response or an emotional response?
I would say capital response in this case, because technology is, especially AI, I've seen use cases where it is adding to the top line, right? Like implementing AI in a particular product is helping that category leader cross-sell, and the cross-sell basically has increased by 12%. And of course it has to be done in the most ethical and responsible manner. You need to have those frameworks and guardrails in place. But as long as you are able to invest in a technology and there is basically revenue coming in, that's the rational response. Emotional response will follow. That's sort of my view on this.
So thank you so much, Sangeeta and Sarvesh ji, for indeed a very invigorating session here. I now request Mr. Sarvesh Tiwari to please present Sangeeta with a Sparkle gift card.